Join our knowledgeable hosts as they dive into the captivating universe of comic books, movies, TV shows, and pop culture. Get ready for vibrant discussions and a shared enthusiasm for all things superhero and beyond. A comic podcast straight from the panels. This is Beyond the Capes.
All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Cape podcast. With us today is one of the talented people that we met at Chronicon, Eli with Cosmic Line Productions. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's good to be here. It was good to meet you at Chronicon. What a fun event.
Yeah, that was fantastic. It sounds like we're doing it again next year. Almost everyone that's met Kevin at New York said it's good to go.
It's going nice. Yeah, I talked to the promoters because we had a booth and everything, and I was like, let me get on that list for next year. And he's like, absolutely, just email me tonight and we'll put you on there. I did that, and so I should be back boothing next year again.
Awesome. So as we like to ask every creator that comes on, of all the things you could have gotten interested in, of all the things you could have done, you decided to jump into the black hole just like the rest of us and chose to kind of go down. What brought you to that?
Comics have just always been a huge part of my life. My father and mother were both into comics. You know, my dad was big into Mad Magazine and he read Superman comics. And so they were always in the house. My mom was big on the Sunday morning strips. Her family was big on the, newspaper strips. And we would read those to each other kind of out loud. And that kind of got me into wanting to be like also a storyteller. And I just drew and drew and drew and drew. Like that's all I did when I was growing up, basically. So, creating comics and reading comics, it was always kind of one thing for me. It was never like, I just enjoy reading. It was always like, I have to make these. And so I started making like Ninja Turtle comics and Star Trek comics in like second or third grade. And just, continue drawing superheroes. And soon those superheroes turned into, Jay and Silent Bob or musicians. Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison were right alongside Jim Morrison or Jay and Silent Bob, who was hanging out with Cyclops or Batman or whatever. So, it all kind of came to a head in that. And then in high school, I was always drawing my friends and the antics, and we'd be drinking or smoking weed or whatever, and I draw us all doing that stuff. And so it was just there. I was always like the kid who was drawing. I was always the guy who was drawing and making comics, and that was just always me, man. There was never a time where comics weren't a thing.
Nice. Well, I'll say if anyone goes to your Instagram, which we'll have linked to the show, you have an 8-track player, which because of Chicago, we have Valhalla's vinyl shop in the city. And buy an 8-track cassette. Nice.
Yeah. I recently got a really sweet 8-track player for my girlfriend for Hawkamus. And I've just been, finding more tapes, and, you always can find them in a little corner at a record shop or something. Currently right now it's getting fixed. Shout out my friend Ashton's dad he fixes stuff. So he's shining it up and getting it all good right now. But yeah, man, I love any type of media. I'm getting, I got tapes and records and 8-tracks and,
get the laser disc out.
I'm going to have to get one. Yeah.
Yeah. At this point, you got to complete the set.
Yeah.
Now for you, obviously comics were a big part of your life. And it sounds like drawing was definitely something you like to do day to day. Was it easier to draw and then kind of put the story later, or were you someone that put the story first in your head, drew it out, and then kind of filled in the bubbles?
Starting off, I certainly kind of did it at once. I just kind of drew, and then the story just kind of, it all happened at once. It kind of came together. And even the first comic proper that I put together, which was my character's Monkey Lion, an intergalactic Afro funk band on tour through the galaxy, I really just kind of set to paper and just drew it, in kind of like a stream of consciousness, gonzo journalism, just did it. So yeah, it really kind of just was one thing, like a flow of consciousness for a while. I didn't I didn't know about the mechanics of making comics, and I never even I didn't really think about digging into it until probably I started watching Cartoonist Kayfabe on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that was a show, that really hipped me to like all the intricacies that go into planning a page and planning a comic and thumbnails. And I started doing thumbnails for the second and third issue of my book, and I must have seen that somewhere. But I never thought of it as deeply as I did once I started watching Cartoonist Kayfabe.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's great, especially for indie artists. I mean, it's so daunting if you were to start at the beginning and read like a Jim Lee How I Got Started book. I mean, no one wants, there's like 50,000 steps before you even make the first page. And sometimes it's easier to just jump into the pool and figure it out. I mean, obviously, if you were to go back to your first comic, having made so many, you would probably look at it like, I really like this, but man, I wish I could re-put this right here, or maybe just add this one. And that's okay. I mean, that's great that you could see the progression too. I think that's the nice thing about indie comic creators.
100% agree. I would give that advice to someone who asked me, like, how do I get started? I would say, just do it. Like, don't think, because I see so many people who belabor this first comic and they want their first comic to be this insane, like, here I am world, look how amazing I have done it. It's like, that's not gonna almost ever be the case. Like, just do it, just get it out there, get that first hump done, and like, just do it. I do look at my first comic and I'm like, man, I would have done so many things different, but I'm still like, hey, that was cool. That's a good idea. Yep. Hey, you're breaking this panel border and going into this, you did some creative things there in your stream of consciousness, so I can see the good and I can see the things I would have done differently, but I'm not like, I wish I would have spent more time thinking about that. I never do that. I would always recommend jumping into the pool and then figuring out how to get out first. It's good or bad in my life, but I always kind of act first and think later. But most times it's worked for me. Sometimes not, though. For sure.
there. I think we could all think of a few things that we're like, did they really think plans out? But the confidence, which I think is key for, especially again for starting out. You have all the confidence in the world because no one really expects anything out of you. You're not taking over Batman for no one has rules. You can draw whatever you really want. You want a talking cactus that saves the world. Hey, by all means, go after it. And you'll never get that moment back, because then once people start reading your comic books, then you start getting the fans. Then they're like, I wish you would keep this idea, and I want you to go back to this, and then you start building the plateaus. So that first stuff is critical.
Yeah, and it's the most pure showing of your creativity. Again, too, because no one's expecting anything. You don't have to like live up to the first one or continue a story. Just like the sophomore slump they talk about with like records, or any artist who spent 15, 20 years, grinding in their bedroom, writing that first record, and it kills. And then you need the next one in a year, and you're famous, and you're on the road, and you're not able to make that first album again ever.
Definitely, no. I think that translates really well into the comic industry.
100%.
So obviously, for you, high school is ending. You love drawing. You love making stories. You love making comics. At what point did you decide? You know what? I could go. I could go off. I could learn this, but I really just want to. I want to sink into this because I really want to give this kind of my full effort.
Well, I think by the end of high school, I had a different path in mind. And I went to college actually for music. I'm a drummer and I wanted to do music. And so I went for music, and I failed out my first year because I went like on Fish tour during finals. I liked the band Fish. The only classes I passed were like art and jazz ensemble and percussion ensemble. And just like, I wasn't buying weeklies or monthlies there. There was no comic shop in this stupid little town. And all right, not stupid, but in this small town in New Hampshire, they had amazing chalupas at Taco Bell. I don't know what it was. I'll never forget that. But there was, I didn't do a lot of comics then. And then, you know, I moved to New York City in 2004, and that was after that year I failed out of high school or failed out of college. And I started getting more into comics, and that's when I first like went to my first Comic-Con, which was a really small one, the MoCA Comic-Con, the Museum of Comic and Cartoon Art. And I think that's the first time I experienced like the comic book business.
Yeah.
And I met my favorite cartoonist, Jim Mahfood, who would be this amazing inspiration my whole life because, you know, he did the Clerks comic books. And so that's where I met up with him. Or that's where I think that is the first, you know what? This timeline is a little murky for me, but I read the Generation X Underground,
Okay, yeah.
which is a comic he did for Marvel, which was this amazing underground book that just was plopped into this Marvel Generation X book, which was like my favorite book. And so I think that might be the first time that I saw independent comics. And then I wanted to see more of him. And then all of a sudden it was like, bam, he's doing the Clerks comics now.
No.
Oh my God, this is huge. And, you know, so it was the perfect thing for me. And I had all those Clerks comics. I bought them all when they came out of the t-shirt. Actually, we're like buddies now, and we've worked together and hung out and chilled. And so yesterday I was sending him actually some of our new books and the Kevin Smith mini comic I made for Chronicon. Yeah. And so I was drawing the Clerks t-shirt, the Clerks, the comic book t-shirt. I was drawing it for him like on the inside. The comic will be available on the website Cosmic Lion Productions in the next couple of days. And I do a drawing of whatever View Askew character you want. And so for him, I was doing this, and then I realized like I stole every single trick from this piece for my own drawing. I stole every single piece: beard, neck shadow, eye shape, you know, like every little piece of this, because I remembered now that it would, you know, I would be wearing it and I'd be in class and I'd just be like this, drawing off my shirt, like pulling it out. It was like, so, you know, Mahfood became this crazy, huge influence on me and an inspiration. And so I volunteered at that Comic-Con, and I got to hang out with him and talk to him and pick his brain. And he did art for me. And, you know, that was the first place that I saw, you know, I walked up and got a sketch off someone and they were like $20. And I was like, $20? Drawing is free. And, you know, that's the first time I, you know, had any experience with any of that. So it was really cool. So after that, I really started planning. And then I moved to Burlington, Vermont, where I started producing shows at a music venue that I started working on. And once I started producing shows, I was like, there's always going to be a comic book element to everything I do. So there's comic book release parties. And that's when I started like photocopying journals and drawings and bar drawings and little cartoons I would do, like bartending. I would, you know, get some register tape out and draw when it was slow, or I would sit and drink at the bar at this pizza restaurant. It was an L-shaped bar. And so this was the pizza where everyone was getting pizza, and this was the bar. So I would sit right at the end of the bar and watch all the people coming in buying pizza, drunk and, you know, doing whatever. And I would just draw them all night. I'd sit there all night and draw, because I worked there at the pizza place, or my buddy that I moved up there with worked there. So I basically drink there till close and just watch everyone, and then we drink till 3 or 4 in the morning at the bar when you know. And you know, so after that, it was just like, this is what's going to happen. And I thought of Monkey Lion one night there, and I thought of Cosmic Lion Productions one night. I don't even really remember how it happened, but then I started planning the shows, and there would be Cosmic Lion Productions. And that's a roundabout answer to your question. It just kind of grew from there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got a lot of books, and as we were saying, you were at the first Chronicon. How did you get? I mean, obviously you met the man himself who made the Clerks comic. How did you get into like this first Chronicon? Did someone reach out to you? Was this just something, you know? Because I think a lot of us saw, you know, Chronicon's real. It was very cryptic on kind of Instagram, Twitter, and then as I realized, being part of the Kevin Smith Club, like this is actually real. Yeah. And I was very curious to who he would have there, because I do know Quick Stops, a lot of those guys, some we've had on the show, Ahmed Rafat, obviously Andrew Thomas. How did you guys get in on that?
I mean, the day Chronicon was announced and they put their website up, I just mined it until I found an email address, and I messaged them day one. I was like, I gotta be here. I got to have a table here. You got to have comics here. And I just messaged them, you know, until, you know, and then they finally got back to me with a thing. And, you know, as soon as it was announced, I was like, I have to be there. And I don't want to be there. Not that I didn't want to be there as a fan, but I wanted to be there, you know, with my comics and with this thing that like definitely has Kevin to thank for where I am right now. And for, you know, the way I see stuff and how, you know, I was such a big fan of it all. Like, and I was on the message board in the early 2000s and, you know, but I had kind of phased out of it for a little while. And when I got back to Chronicon, or when I was at Chronicon and around a bunch of people that loved Kevin and spoke this language that I used to speak fluently and yet hadn't for a while, it was like such an amazing feeling, you know. It felt really cool and like really, I like got home and I immediately joined the Kevin Smith Club and, you know, I've been listening to old Smodcasts and you know, just going back down the well, back down. I watched, you know, 4:30 movie on the way home on the plane. And, you know, it was just awesome. And it felt great. And, you know, I didn't buy a thing to meet Kevin, and I really wanted to. And I was really hoping that I would be able to give him my zine at my booth. I was hoping he would like kind of walk around, check out the booths before it opened. That didn't happen, but a dude came by that we had been chatting about Star Trek with for like 2 hours out at the outside smoking lounge. You know, we were talking about who's the best Star Trek captain for like 3 hours the night before. And he came by and was like, dude, I can't stay on Sunday. I got to leave early. Do you guys want my tickets to meet Kevin? We're like, you know, I do.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah. So that was a really added bonus. And I was like, you know, I was talking to the guy and I was like, yo, I can't leave the booth for very long. Is there a time I could come kind of like swinging at the very end and like get right in to meet Kevin, not like have to be away from the booth for too long? And the dude was like, you know what? Give me a second. He went around here, talked to somebody, came back. He's like, just come on. Took me directly to the front of the line with my zine. I gave him the zine. He hugged me like 5 times. We talked for like a second. He loved my shirt. And then, you know, that was it. And I was out of there and back to the booth in like 3 minutes. It was insane. Felt so good. It was like meeting like my best friend from college that I haven't seen for a really long time. And you just have this like, you know, huge burst of love. You hug and then you're done. It's like, it was sick.
Yeah, no, I can definitely attest for it because I got there Thursday. I checked into the hotel and I think I went to go to eat there. And I went to the bar and I sat down and I kept on looking. There's Halloran sitting at the bar. I know Andrew Thomas was on one side, and I think you guys were on the other side of him on Thursday night.
That's right.
Because I was looking, I was like, are all these people? These are all people that we started following from the show. That I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that was sick.
Like, all right,
I sat right down at the bar first thing, and Brian O'Halloran was there, and I, you know, cheers him. And then Marilyn Gigliotti sat down right next to us. I didn't sit right next to him because I didn't want to be like creepy or anything. And then she came and sat right down right there. And she was like at the first con I ever tabled at with Cosmic Line Productions. She was a guest and I interviewed her and talked to her. And I just said, yo, it's been like 20 years since I don't know if it's 20 years, maybe 15 years. Since I interviewed you and, you know, my first con. And so it's just really cool to, you know, it was sick. It was so sick. You know, the first thing that happened there, like literally I got on the elevator when I got in the hotel and I met the organizers, first person, and then sat at the bar with them. And then, you know, it was just a really good experience.
Yeah, it was crazy because as soon as I got done, I was eating dinner and then I'm like, I'm not going to say anything to any of them. I'm going to see them. I don't want to make a scene. Because I don't think anyone really knew who they were. I think they were just sitting there, which I was really surprised. Then I go downstairs. I'm like, let me get a coffee. There's Jason just having a coffee really quick, talking to people what he likes. And then I think I take the elevator up, and Robert Kurtzman's taking the elevator up because we're on the same floor. That was just a crazy experience overall.
Yeah, it's cool that they're just there and hanging out and walking around and experiencing the show, and it was sick. Yeah,
definitely. Now, while you were there, obviously you had a lot of books, and one of the reasons we're here on on the show too is to talk about Ghost Agents, which you had there. The coolest part of Ghost Agents is you have to be a big fan of wrestling, because when I saw it, it was Freya had come up as your the cover, and I said, "Oh no way! This was such a great show on Netflix. I can't believe that they got this." How did this? Because obviously this book you've been doing for quite a while.
Yes. We've been doing Ghost Agents for a while now. Honestly, I don't even know. Must be like 5 years or something now. It's created by this dude, Rocco Jerome, who was one of the first people I started working with. We did this amazing book called Image Grand Design, which was, an idea by Ed Piskor from Cartoonist Kayfabe. He pitched this idea, and the fan base just rallied around the idea, and we did it, during COVID. And so I met Rocco there, and he had this idea for Ghost Agents, and I had been doing Cosmic Lion, for a while before, almost 10 years before, but I only was doing like my projects, my comics, my events and podcasts and stuff. And so now was a time where I was like, I just met a lot of these really interesting people. Let's work with them. Let's produce some show. Let's produce some books, And so Rocco had this idea for Ghost Agents, which was amazing and is amazing. And it's like this spy-fi action adventure team. It's an anthology. He writes stories for all these different creators. And we do all these different weird sizes. We've done comic size. We do treasury editions. This one is like a golden age size, and it's on newsprint. And it's by this guy, Ken Landgraf, who is like the creator of Outlaw Comics, and he makes these crazy, violent and awesome, just a one of a kind comic book art. And who got his start in the 80s, colored by this dude Mizimo, who's absolutely wild. And Rocco lives in Louisville, where they do that wrestling show.
Okay, yeah.
And so he just goes. Is it called OVW?
I think so.
Yeah. I'm not huge into wrestling, other than the Greco-Roman I did in high school, but he's huge in it. He loves it, And so he met Freya, and when he saw Freya, he was like, "That is Donna Prentice, my character from Ghost Agents," And so he just goes all the time, and he does like local radio and stuff, and he got to interview her, and he just asked her like, would you want to be, part of this comic we're doing, and do like photos as Donna? And she's like, she's game for it. She loved it, and she loves the idea, loves the character. I think she dressed as Donna for Halloween this year. And Rocco just made that connection. And so for this Ghost Agents, there is a variant cover that is just Freya, but she's on the inside front cover and inside back cover. So, it's really cool. And she's been helping us make sales. And if you're in the Louisville area and you go to OVW Wrestling, you can get the Freya covers directly from Rocco, signed from Freya and Rocco. And so, that's just been a huge boon to the book. And the new book that we're doing features Freya again as Donna, and she's at Studio 54 having an adventure. So it's like, it's going to be sick. So yeah, definitely check out the Kickstarter while you can. I think there's a week or so left on it.
Yeah. Now, for everyone that is interested in about it, like, is this one that if they hadn't read the other Ghost Agents or whatnot, like this is one you can just kind of pick up and play? Or does it help to have a little bit of information, or are you guys doing any backlogging on your Kickstarter?
Yeah, I do think you can get back issues on the Kickstarter. You don't really need much. It's kind of like this spy-fi action adventure team, much like MI6 or Mission Impossible or James Bond style feel, or like Jim Steranko's Shield, which I think was the big inspiration for Rocco. It's really like, it's just like you said, plug and play. Yeah. Like you can really just jump on wherever. Some of the Treasury editions have these big spans of action, but you can really just jump right in. I'm sure you can get the back. I really should know this. I'm fairly certain that you can get back issues of the comics on the Kickstarter. If not, you can get them at CosmicLionProductions.com. And you really don't need all the other books, especially to understand these. These are just one shots They're full of action. They're mostly like Rocco telling Ken Landgraf to just like rage in this general direction, and then
Perfect.
Rocco puts the text over it and it interprets his stuff. So it's really like, it's jazz, baby. It's a jam. It's like it's just fun, and nobody's doing it like us. Ken does other projects, but nobody does color like us. And like Mizimo, Christian J. Mizimo, who's an absolutely insane artist on his own. But these Ghost Agents. The first one is Outlaw Town, which I have here, and then the other one is Mind Melt. So yeah, dude, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean that's the nice thing too about your books and like all your work. I think if anyone goes on, obviously you talk about TMNT. You love the turtle. I think most people love the Turtles.
Yeah.
And it's crazy how Kevin Eastman kind of revolutionized independent publishing with that.
Totally.
But we kind of lost that underground zine kind of hand-drawn comic thing.
Yeah.
And I would say it's only recently come back with Bleeding Edge in mainstream comics, which was really good.
Yeah.
But for you guys, I think the artwork is just... everyone likes a good polished book. I love Absolute Batman. It has been awesome.
Sick. You can't hit.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
That being said, I know that it is machine done, machine cut, done. With this style, obviously, it definitely does have a lot more personal kind of reflections. I don't know if that's something you guys for your brand, like that's something you want to continue carrying on. I mean, obviously, there's room for all arts. There's no doubt about it. But I do think this one fits kind of that independent. I think it just fits better when you could tell that it was hand drawn.
I agree too. Like, Ken Landgraf started this, what people call outlaw comics. I think maybe that was coined by the cartoonist kayfabe guys. But, we love the outlaw comics and we want to continue it. And, I started in zine making and that was another thing I got off Jim Mafood. He just, stapled pieces of paper together that he photocopied at Kinko's with like a red construction paper cover. And that was my first original comics as well. We have, I'll carry that DIY indie scrappy vibe. Even if I make a book that is polished and it looks like a DC or Marvel comic, it'll still feel somehow, like it's DIY and indie comics. That's what we do. And when I gave Kevin Smith my zine, he was like, "You got a zine? Nobody's doing zines anymore." And I'm like, "I am." And he's like, "Oh," and I was like, it was so sick because, that's what we do, and if I may take you over to the wall of comics here, we do have a lot of stuff, like this one is my book, which is, I made a ton of these zines stapled. And then I finally was like, let me just put it all into like an actual comic. And so this I call it like an autobiography because it has everything from like my super early, grade school comics, my third grade Ninja Turtle, comic pitch or action figure pitches to like Monkey Lion to all the stuff I did. I did 6 issues of a Ween zine. I remember I sent you the link. I love
that was awesome.
Ween, and so you can check out those. They're all free on www.theweenzine.com. And so, I did some stuff, like that. So that's a big one. And we also have Image Grand Design, which was a huge one. I was telling you about that. Yeah. This was like a flip book that we did, which was humongous.
That's awesome.
With cartoonist kayfabe. And then with them as well, we did Wizard with the Comics Magazine, which is like a riff on Wizard Comics. And I did 2 issues of that. We have another one down here, which is huge. Issue 1 is fully sold out, but issue 2 is still available on CosmicLionProductions.com. I don't have a ton left, but I got some. And, so those are just some of the like books that I'm really psyched upon. Space Knights is a huge, probably our biggest seller. And the creator, Kevin Anthony Catalan, he just completed a Godzilla book for IDW, which is coming out this week or next. So that's going to be huge. Mecha Godzilla versus Space Gadira or something like that. Yeah. So that's going to be really huge. So, it's been great. I don't know what question you asked or what we were talking about, but I went off.
No, it answers it. The artwork answers. I mean, I think the best thing too is the Wizard magazine. When you send me the links to your stuff, it's hard to describe to people. I feel like when Kevin was talking about it at Chronicon, we all know what Wizard is because that's all we had to look forward to, especially in Chicago. That was the only real convention because I wasn't going out to California and New York. Wizard magazine was really the only way to keep up to date because there wasn't a lot of comic book stores, surprisingly, back in the day. I know I got mine at Jewel Osco or a Borders rack, which almost every word I just said was almost all those companies are gone.
True.
Almost everything's gone.
Even Wizard.
Yeah, Wizard. I mean, Wizard is completely gone. I mean,
all those cons became other things, and
I mean, we have Fan Expo and whatnot, but no, but definitely you guys keeping Wizard alive, I think is critical because a lot of people are going to forget what Wizard was.
Yeah, I think so too. I was even lucky enough to go to one of those Wizard World Chicago's and see one of Kevin's evening withs there, which was really, really cool. The first really big convention that I volunteered at, because I just figured out that if you volunteer, you get in for free and you meet the celebrities for free. Yeah. And the first job I had was Margot Kidder's line. And so I got a big hug from Margot Kidder and just hung out and then met Jim Mahfood again at that one. And we got to go, see Kevin for free. And it's so sick. I would recommend to anyone, if they haven't been to a convention before, think about volunteering because it's a great way to, see it in a different way. And and this comes from my love of working concerts and stuff when I was in Vermont, is like seeing a venue from setup to, everything is there and it's full and it's going crazy to break down, seeing it from empty, the calm before the storm, everyone's getting ready. And then the absolute onslaught of the show or the con or the rockin', insanity. And then it's just all over and, there's straws and ice and glasses everywhere. And, whatever, I just love that. And that was what I got to see volunteering at cons and working shows and bartending and stuff. I always loved that. So I don't know. That was another.
Yeah, no, that answers it for sure. And it's funny too. You mentioned about Wizard coming there because I feel like towards the end, no one was really showing up. But I feel like I went enough times that me and my friend always talk about like Lou Ferrigno. I feel like we should start seeing Christmas cards because I feel like I saw like it was my yearly meeting. Like I'll see Lou this year. Yeah. But I think what really surprises me is how many people came that had no line. Who was it? I think it was Lori Petty, who was like willing to sign Tank Girl and everything else like that. Just no line. She was just sitting there for hours. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go up there and talk to her because this is insane. I love the comic book. I love the movie.
Same.
She's a great actress. She did great on Gotham. This was obviously before
League of Their Own.
Yeah. I sat there for I think 2 hours and no one came in line. Yeah. No one was there. So she's like, oh no, have a seat. Damn. And it's crazy because that will never fly. Fan Expo for sure. C2E2, which is now our new big Chicago one, which I think last year was 102,000 people. I'm afraid to see what the numbers are going to be this year.
Because nerd culture and conventions, went from being this underground or nerd or, minority, the minority of fans event to like everybody loves it now. And everyone wants to meet Chris Evans or, see the guy from Supernatural or whoever it is, and when it's people like Rosario Dawson there for Star Wars. When I was recently in Portland for a con and she was there and, I never do celebrity signings, but I was like, oh my God, should I go meet Rosario or something, and like, it's just really cool. And someone like Kevin who, I feel like he lives for his fans. For sure. He does everything for his fans, and I think a lot of these people are starting to see that. And, I'm a big Star Trek guy and I feel like those people too are, so big for their fans. And once you're in Star Trek, it's you can start going to cons and live making money. And, and I saw like one time I did a con in Tampa, Orlando. I lived in Florida for a little while. And one person was like, I was a zombie on Walking Dead. I was like that zombie for like 10 seconds. And they had a line. They had people trying to meet them. They were making money. I'm like, it's crazy. It's like you're anointed for a second and then that's it,
Yeah, I'm always amazed who I met. I mean, Bruce Leroy from The Last Dragon was like 4 years ago at C2E2. And again, there's just no line. He's selling his book. I love that movie.
Yeah.
You give me the Shogun of Harlem, I would have been set. That would have made my day.
I love it, and it's cool. And it's cool to get that moment with these people that you love, and get that photo. That second captured in time where you were right there with this person that you love, and you got to tell them how much you love them. Like that means a ton. And not that it's a motivation as a creator, but it feels so good when you're at a con and you meet someone and they come back and you start to give them the spiel and they're like, oh, I have everything. Is there anything new? And you're like, oh, shit. I guess I am someone,
Yeah. Loyal fans.
Yeah. It feels so good to start feeling that type of thing. And I'm sure you felt it for the podcast, or you meet people when they're like, it just is amazing when you're creating something and it connects with people. There's nothing like that feeling.
Definitely. Now, obviously, you guys did a lot of work. You got your books out. You've had a lot of experience in putting on concerts. At any point, would you consider doing like a Cosmic Lion Productions, like underground, just like solely just comic books, all zines? Just
hell yeah, dude! It's in the works. We've been thinking about it. There's all I would love that. I did a lot of work planning events.
Yeah.
And Rocco, who I work with, also did a lot of that. And, out here in LA, there's a lot of places to do that and a lot of people. And, sometimes these zine fests, they get a little, I don't know. Everything at some point becomes like gatekeepery. Yeah. Even if it's like, we're the most non-gatekeepery thing, then you're like, gatekeeping like regular people who want to make, it's like everything becomes clicky. Even if you're trying to be the least clicky thing there is, something happens, and
correct.
And the if it's an indie creators, and then then people aren't indie enough, and it's like, well, how am I not indie enough? I staple my own books. I write about some sort of intergalactic cat. Oh, well, indie comics are about autobio, or, it's got to be about relationships or something, so I'm ready to just have a convention that's just like people making comics and having fun and enjoying the art and the creative process. And, I definitely want to do something like that. Cosmic Lion Con is something. And I'll tell you, I work with a dude named Matt Sardo, and he has a con called Indie Comics Creator Con, IC3. It's in New Haven, Connecticut in March. And so that is kind of as close as I have gotten so far to, doing our own con. It's something that, I helped to plan with him. I helped him book some bigger creators, and we have the Cosmic Lion Island within IC3 where it's all our creators are together. And so that's really, really cool. So if you're in the New Haven, Connecticut area, you should definitely check that out. I think there's like another con, like maybe Mocha or something, is the same weekend. So it's a perfect time to take a trip and hit two amazing cons up in one weekend that are both indie and both kind of small. But yeah, I'd love to. There's a show out here called Permanent Damage that's at like this dive bar that's also a record store, and they have space for like maybe 20 people. And they have like Simon Hanselman and Dave Baker and some people of that like kind of level of like just like super indie. And I would love to do something at that venue, or like work with the Permanent Damage guys, because that is like my favorite type of con. It's small. They're super indie creators, and like people swing by, like Jaime Hernandez from Love and Rockets or David Cho just like swings in because they want to see what's there. Yeah, I met DJ Doug Pound, who works with Tim Heidecker and stuff, and So it's just really cool. Super cool people go because they want to see the comics, and plus it's at this sick dive bar, and they have music and comedy, and they do comic book readings, and then also you can go, buy records and check out, these bootleg Pink Floyd that are $300 or $1, world records, whatever you love to get. Which both of those things are my favorites, but it's just amazing. So I'd love to do something like Permanent Damage out here.
Yeah. All right, well, it's in the works. I mean. And it's funny you mentioned gatekeeping because, I mean, that's the only reason we have this podcast was going to RC2E2 and hearing someone be like, oh, I don't carry the X-Men omnibus. You really don't even read X-Men until you read Claremont. No 18-year-old is going to sit back and read 450. I've done it on Marvel, and I can tell you right now, a lot of those comics don't fly in today's world.
They don't. They're boring. It's boring now. Like, the Claremont run, everyone loves it. It was huge when it happened. Absolutely. Yeah. But it's fucking boring now. Excuse my language. Like, it is. And, I'd rather read Chris Bachalo, Generation X, or, people hated Scott Lobdell's run in the 300s of X-Men, Joe Madureira. But, like, that's what I grew up on. I'd rather read that, Sure. I like to, I hate when people are like that. They're like, you haven't read Ronin? Well, then you can't like Ninja Turtles. And I'm like, yes, I can. I love Ninja Turtles. And like, I'm happy to say that, the 80s cartoon sucks now too. It's like, everything's the 80s cartoon of Turtles because that's what you grew up on. It's like, no, if you go back to it, they're stupid and slapsticky and dumb. It doesn't hold up. The 2012 is the best, and the Mirage comics are so good. So it's like, just have your own opinion and love it and own it, and don't stop anyone from liking what they like. That's like
exactly,
and that's what I want to do, and like that's what I do with Cosmic Line Productions. Is I want people to be able to get their ideas out unencumbered. They want me to edit it, and they're like, "Is this ending okay? Is this character fine?" And I'm like, "Dude, this is your story. Like, I want you to do 100% unfiltered, unabashedly you, and I'm happy to, copy edit or give you ideas, but I want this to be like 100% you. I'm not going to stop you from doing anything you want to do. Like if you want full penetration, hey, if that's your dream, let's do it. I don't love it. And it's not what I'm looking for, but if that's what you want, maybe we'll talk.
You're the only one that knows how your story is going to end. So, I mean, you have to tell it.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, it's truly all about that. And I can't get behind anybody talking shit about anything. You can debate the quality of Frank Miller's current Marvel variant covers all you want, but it doesn't change that he destroyed the world with Dark Knight Returns. Like, it's not, or like, sure, they're not great, but they're cool. It's Frank Miller now. It's like,
yeah,
I can debate all day, and people are like, oh, I'm not even going to read Batman all absolute. Like you said, it's the machine, blah blah blah. And it's like, it's comics, dude.
It's a fun comic.
Enjoy it. It was really fun. I mean, so was Wonder Woman absolute, and I'm sure
Wonder Woman was fantastic.
I don't even read DC comics at all. I don't read DC, and the guys at my shop are like, you have to get it. And if anything, it'll be a collector's item one day. Blah 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 blah. And it's like, dude, I read it and it's awesome. I'm glad I have it. I'm gonna get the next one. I subscribed. I put all 3 on my pull. So and like Flash sounds interesting and Superman sounds interesting. It's like, don't overthink it, bro. It's comics.
Yeah. We used to say on the show because I don't like Marvel. I think some of their events they're just kind of weird and they're kind of not thought out. That being said, I like an occasional Marvel book, and I'm glad people like Marvel and they read it, because I'd rather have you reading than not reading. It's not for me, but I'm definitely not going to go out of my way to put it down, which is crazy.
Yeah. That's the thing, is that everybody's different, and to hate on someone for what they like makes no sense.
No.
And look, man, I love Phish and the Grateful Dead, 2 of the most hated bands across fan bases the world over, you know, and I don't care. I'm unabashed. Now, sometimes, you know, just like anything, you get to the make funning of before they are able to, you know, kind of thing. But hey, man, it's nothing but love. I love it, you know, and I
Exactly.
don't care what you say or what anybody says. And that's just the thing. If you love something enough, you're just gonna do it. And you know, I know Kevin Smith fans know it, and people are like,
Yep.
Clerks 3 sucks, or 430 movie was so dumb. And it's like, cool. So what? Does that make Clerks not good now? Or like, no. Okay, so I just watched is it Drawing Flies, the Kevin or the Jason Lee movie?
I think so.
So boring.
I know what you're talking
The
about.
most boring movie I've ever seen in my life. Like, no, it's not. But it's like I can't even get through it. But I know if like I watched it immediately after I watched Clerks, I would have been like, I love this movie. Like, it's so good. Oh my, you know, but it's like coming at it from 2024. It's like, why are they talking about this in the woods?
Yeah, you definitely get a bias.
You really do. You really do. I don't know, you know, and just it's just like love what you love, and
Correct.
don't, you know, unless that thing that you love is like hate or racism or, you know, anti-Semitism, then I don't encourage you to love those things.
Those are bad
things.
Actively
try to.
That's
but yeah, if it's Fish or Kevin Smith films or something, it's like, just, you know, go for it, and don't worry what anyone else says. Make your comic, make your film, just like they say, and just dive in, man. If you're making movies, put your phone on cinematic mode, shoot some stuff, edit it, and you know, GarageBand and Apple Movie. Just do it. Just make it and show it to people. See what they like, see what they don't like, and just keep going. Make comics, you know, on your iPad, or draw them and scan them and put them on Instagram. And just do it. And just, there's so many ways to make something, make your art, show your heart, and get it out there, and just keep going. And don't let the bullshitters dissuade you. If someone is so impassioned that they need to hate on your art, then you did something right, because you garnered a response. You got emotions, and you made someone feel something, even if it was like, that sucks so bad, you know? So just go with it, run with it, lean into it. I don't know.
For sure. No, I think that definitely, again, as we talked about in the beginning, you just gotta go for it.
Go for it.
One last question before we kind of get information on where everyone can find you. You have a huge music background, obviously.
Yeah.
There's been a new recent trend, I think, in a lot of indie comics, is doing a music playlist to be read with a comic book. Is that something you've thought about, or maybe even have a little bit in the works of doing, like a full jazz or percussion playlist with like a jazz, like space opera that someone listens to as they read the book?
Yeah, dude. Issue 2 of Monkey Lion has QR codes in it for you to scan that take you to like YouTube videos of what I think the music would sound like. It's mostly like Fela Kuti or Ginger Baker's Air Force, stuff like that. Afrobeat, funk and jazz stuff. Originally, Monkey Lion's instrumentation was based after this band Dopapod that I saw, which was a drum and keyboard duo. And I loved them so much. They're so good. And so that was the instrumentation that I based Monkey Lion off of, which originally started off as a duo like that. So a lot of it was like, you know, I had them be like, you've got to make a playlist, or you've got to make a song for me. And, you know, they've been friends throughout their career. And, you know, they went from a bar band that played to a couple people when I was working at Nectar's. That's the club I worked at in Burlington, Vermont, Nectar's. And now they're humongous. And they're playing here in LA this Sunday on their farewell tour, which is kind of wild. So that's really cool. But so it's always been part of it. There's always been, you know, and another thing I ripped off Jim Mahfood, who he told me he ripped off Jamie Hewlett, who Jamie Hewlett, I'm sure, ripped off whoever, is having a little soundtrack at the beginning, you know, like I have it in Wizard and I have it in most of my comics where it's like, here's what I was listening to. And Cosmic Lion Radio, my original podcast, the whole thing about it was we interview musicians and comic book creators and then talk about the music that they listen to while they're making comics, and we make a little playlist. And so it's part music, part interview. So music and comics is like everything to me. It's always been a part of it. It's always like what I'm looking to do. So I loved comics that did that. Like one of my favorite comics that do that is Red Rocket 7 by Mike Allred, which is an absolutely amazing one. And Ghost Agents, which actually have a little flexi disc that comes with one of the issues that you can add on by a band called the Rocco's gonna kill me. They're by a really good band that is it's like a rockabilly band.
Okay.
And I'll tell you that later. Hit me up. It's secret information, and then I'll tell you. But yeah, so yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's always a part of it. Absolutely always a part of it.
So eventually we could see the Cosmic Lion vinyl press.
Oh my God, yes. Dude, even one of the first shows I did, I actually took an old record and painted it and glued on, Monkey Lion stuff to make it look like their first record. Spatial Animalia or something. I was big on this record by this band Praxis called Mutatis Mutandis or something. So I tried to make it look like that.
Awesome. All right. Well, hopefully we'll see that. That'd be awesome. Getting comic book with your vinyl sleeve.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll definitely. Well, you can do it now if you want to get it off the website. Okay. Go on. All right. Here's the Ghost Agents theme. Oh, it doesn't even say. Anyway, sorry, I was trying to figure that out. The Bell Furies. I know.
Okay. Perfect.
Oh, sorry. Got it.
Awesome. Well, we got that to look forward to. For everyone listening that is interested in what you're doing, Ghost Agents will have the link to the Kickstarter. Where else can everyone find your books? What's available? And where can they follow you?
Absolutely. Well, CosmicLionProductions.com is the hub for everything. I've got links on there for, to buy the comics. Number one, we got digital comics on there. Links to all the podcasts. I have 3 podcasts, 2 of which are active right now. Cosmic Lion Radio, my OG, which I've been doing for almost 15 years. I really was trying to get Kev on it for a while, but I kind of abandoned that. That's what my zine was about at Chronicon, and I gave it to him. Still haven't heard from him, Kev. If you hear this, I can yell into the ether forever. I will. And the other one is The Devil in Detail. It's a reread podcast of the comic Grendel.
Okay.
And we've had Matt Wagner and Brandon Wagner and a bunch of the creators, pretty much all of the creators on there. So that was really cool. On Instagram, at Cosmic Lion is my personal one. At Cosmic Lion Productions is the business one where you'll see all the new books coming out, see all the creators and the art they publish. And, we work with such an amazing team of creators. So once you kind of dive into Cosmic Lion, there's we have like over 25 books now. So that's over 25 artists to dive into and experience and find the one that speaks to you and find the genre that speaks to you. And, we really have just, our slogan is comics of every kind for every mind for a reason, because we have just everything that you could want in a comic. So hit me up there. You can email me, even just Eli at Cosmic Lion Productions if you want to chat, or if you have a pitch, if you have a comic or you have an idea or something, hit me up. Let's do something.
Perfect. Everyone listening, go check them out. Find them on Instagram. Take a look at the website. You can get in on the Kickstarter. You'll find that link wherever you are either watching this or hearing this. So follow through. Take a look. Definitely get the book. It was amazing looking at it. Chronicon, well worth it. Invest now. Eli, thanks for coming on. Can't wait to talk to you in the future as we get more books out. And everyone listening, we hope you had fun. Again, give them a follow. Cosmic Lion Productions. Everyone listening, have a good night.
Night.